Two Cities by Charles Dickens, Book the Third, The Track of a Storm, Chapter 5, The Wood-Sawyer. And just a disclaimer, it is a very hot day here at Kentley Studios in Seattle, Washington. My window is open. You just heard a car horn, and I'm right next to a garage, so you're going to be hearing lots of noise. Hopefully it won't distract you from the story, and away we go. 1 year and 3 months. During all that time, Lucy was never sure, from hour to hour, but that the guillotine would strike off her husband's head next day. Every day, through the stony streets, the tumbrils now jolted heavily, filled with the condemned. Lovely girls, bright women, brown-haired, black-haired, and gray, youths, stalwart men, and old, gentle-born and peasant-born, all red wine for la guillotine. All daily brought into the light from the dark cellars of the loathsome prisons, and carried to her through the streets to slake her devouring thirst. Liberty, equality, fraternity, or death, the last much the easiest to bestow, O guillotine. If the suddenness of her calamity, the whirling wheels of the time, had stunned the doctor's daughter into awaiting the result in idle despair, it would but have been with her as it was with many. But from the hour when she had taken the white head to her fresh young bosom in the garret of St. Antoine, she had been true to her duties. She was truest to them in this season of trial, as all the quietly loyal and good will always be. As soon as they were established in their new residence, and her father had entered on the routine of his avocations, she arranged the little household as exactly as if her husband had been there. Everything had its appointed place and its appointed time. Little Lucy she taught as regularly as if they had all been united in their English home. The slight devices with which she cheated herself into the show of belief that they would soon be reunited, the little preparations for his speedy return, the setting aside of his chair and his books, these and the solemn prayer at night, for one dear prisoner especially, among the many unhappy souls imprisoned in the shadow of death, were almost the only outspoken reliefs of her heavy mind. She did not greatly alter in appearance. The plain dark dresses, akin to mourning dresses, which she and her child wore, were as neat and as well attended as her brightest clothes of happy days. She lost her color, and the old intent and expression was a constant, not an occasional thing. Otherwise, she remained very pretty and comely. Sometimes, at night, on kissing her father, she would burst into the grief she had repressed all day, and would say that her sole reliance under heaven was to him. He always resolutely answered, "Nothing can happen to him without my knowledge, and I know that I can save him, Lucy." They had not made the round of their changed life many weeks when her father said to her, coming home one evening, "My dear, there is an upper window in the prison, to which Charles can sometimes gain access at 3 in the afternoon. When he can get to it, which depends on many uncertainties and incidents, he might see you in the street, he thinks, if you stood in a certain place that I can show you. But you will not be able to see him, my poor child, and even if you could, it would be unsafe for you to make a sign of recognition." "Oh, show me the place, father. I will go there every day." From that time, in all weathers, she waited there 2 hours. As the clock struck 2, she was there. At 4, she turned resignedly away. When it was not too wet or inclement for her child to be with her, they went together. At other times she was alone, but she never missed a single day. It was the dark and dirty corner of a small winding street. The hovel of a cutter of wood, into lengths of burning, was the only house at that end. All else was well. On the 3rd day of her being there, he noticed her. "Good day, citizeness." "Good day, citizen." This mode of address was now prescribed by decree. It had been established voluntarily some time ago among the more thorough patriots, but was now law for everybody. "Walking here again, citizeness." "You see me, citizen." The Wood-Sawyer, who was a little man with a redundancy of gesture, he had once been a mender of roads, cast a glance at the prison, pointed at the prison, putting his 10 fingers before his face to represent bars, peeped through them jocosely. "It's not my business," said he, and he went on sawing his wood. Next day He was looking out for her, and accosted her the moment she appeared. "What, walking here again, citizeness?" "Yes, citizen." "Ah, child, too. Your mother, is it not, my little citizeness?" "Do I say yes, mamma?" whispered little Lucy, drawing close to her. "Yes, dearest." "Yes, citizen." "Ah, but it is not my business. My work is my business. See my saw. I call it my little guillotine. La la la, la la la." And off his head comes. The billet fell as he spoke, and he threw it into a basket. "I call myself the Samson of the firewood guillotine. See here again. Lo, 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 lo." And off her head comes. "Now, a child, tickle, tickle, pickle, pickle," and off its head comes, all the family. Lucy shuddered as he threw 2 more billets into his basket, but it was impossible to be there while the Wood-Sawyer was at work, and not be in his sight. Thenceforth, to secure his goodwill, she always spoke to him first, and often gave him drink money, which he readily received. He was an inquisitive fellow, and sometimes, when she had quite forgotten him, gazing at the prison roofs and gates, and in lifting her heart up to her husband, she would come to herself and find him looking at her, with his knee on his bench and his saw stopped in its work. "But it's not my business," he would generally say at those times, and would briskly fall to his sawing again. In all weathers, in the snow and frost of winter, in the bitter winds of spring, in the hot sunshine of summer, in the rains of autumn, and again in the snow and frost of winter, Lucy passed 2 hours of every day in this place, and every day on leaving it she kissed the prison wall. Her husband saw her, so she learned from her father. It might be once in 5 or 6 times, it might be twice or thrice running, it might be not for a week or a fortnight together. It was enough that he could and did see her when the chances served, and on that possibility she would have waited out the day 7 days a week. These occupations brought her round to the December month, wherein her father walked among the terrors with a steady hand. On a lightly snowing afternoon she arrived at the usual corner. It was a day of some wild rejoicing, and a festival. She had seen the houses, and she came alone, decorated with little pikes, and with red caps stuck upon them, also with tricolored ribbons, also with the standard inscription, tricolored letters were the favorite, "Republic One, and Indivisibility, Liberty, Equality, Fraternity, or Death." The miserable shop of the Wood-Sawyer was so small that its whole surface furnished very indifferent space for this legend. He had got somebody to scrawl it up for him, however, who had squeezed death in with a most inappropriate difficulty. On his housetop he displayed a pike and cap, as a good citizen must, and in a window he had stationed his saw, inscribed with his little Saint Guillotine, for the great sharp female was, by that time, popularly canonized. His shop was shut, and he was not there, which was a relief to Lucy, and left her quite alone. But he was not far off, for presently she heard a troubled movement and a shouting coming along, which filled her with fear. A moment afterwards, and a throng of people came pouring round the corner by the prison wall, in the midst of whom was the Wood-Sawyer, hand in hand with the Vengeance. There could not be fewer than 500 people, and they were dancing like 5,000 demons. There was no other music than their own singing. They danced to the popular Revolution song, keeping a ferocious